man walked to the middle of the avenue of eternal peace,
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Well, today we're going to talk about AI. AI seems to be a recurring theme a lot, but I feel like America's future is definitely going to be affected by AI. There's kind of no way around it. Um, but more and more, I'm seeing like concerns popping up. Originally people had fears of, is it going to be like Terminator or, Skynet, where, their AI is going to turn on us and people are going to be hunting us down. And it is a tool. I mean, remember the biggest concern that people used to have 15 years ago was kind of government overreach and government spying. And that used to be the thing all the time. We'd always be like, oh, the government's in all our business. And now we're like, oh, whatever, just take it. Whatever.
Yeah.
You can know everything. But at first, when AI was coming, we were like, oh, that's going to be the problem. But and honestly, now kind of people are leaning towards, is AI kind of sinister and has its own agenda, like it's evolving into its own thing. And that's kind of what's happening. So we're going to talk about AI trying to please you with its answers, the possibility of AI being used for evil. If you're an evil villain and now you have access to, all kinds of information out there, AI could be a problem. We're also going to talk about like interpolation. You guys maybe heard that term. That's basically AI kind of just guessing answers for you. And then also stories of AI not shutting down when it's told to, or AI blackmailing people. Yeah, we're going to get into it. So, anyway, if this is your kind of stuff, make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe, all the things that help grow the channel. We appreciate being here for you. We appreciate you guys coming out. And yeah, let's jump into it. Kevin, I don't know, what's the biggest fear that you have about AI? Like, what are the concerns out there? What haunts you?
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of the my biggest concerns about it right now are basically misinformation.
Yeah.
It's not that AI necessarily is misinforming people. It's that people can use AI as a tool for misinformation. Basically, like if all sorts of information suddenly came out on the Jeffrey Epstein list and all that sort of shit, I wouldn't believe any of it now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It could be anything.
It could
Yeah.
be anything. Yeah. You could make it say, make up reasons for anything. By the way, that video that they have, the prison video, that's not
I
of
didn't see it.
Jeffrey Epstein's thing. They said it was altered and it's missing time. So what's up with that, dude? Why are they putting out raw, quote unquote, raw video that's
Something
been
else.
altered?
Yeah. No,
Weird.
that's suspicious. Yeah, it's raw video when it's been changed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's suspicious.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, I think the biggest concern for me is like deep fakes and things like that. We talked about AI blackmailing people with made up
Yeah.
made up affairs and things like that. But somebody could send you a video of like your wife doing it with somebody and not even real. You know what I mean?
You don't know. That's back to, you touched on the Epstein client list. Alan Dershowitz is like, yeah, there's a list. I've seen it. I know all the people on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it never existed. There
Yep.
wasn't one. But
Yeah, Pam Bondi
Dershowitz
said it was on her
right.
desk, and then she's like, "No, it doesn't exist."
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dershowitz was, Epstein's lawyer. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But of course, what happened to attorney-client privilege? Like,
Well, I mean, I guess if you're dead, doesn't apply anymore.
doesn't it?
I don't really know what the rules are on that.
Kevin, keep your secrets close to your vest. That's all
Yeah.
I'm
Don't
saying.
even tell your lawyer.
Don't even tell your lawyer, because apparently that guy will just blab information all over the place. So, all right. Here's the thing. So first, there was some studies, and of course, I like to do research. I use Grok as a tool, but that's the thing. You got to verify, right? Stuff doesn't always come back as actually accurate. What
Mhm.
I found in my own personal experience when I use Grok and other things is it gives me headlines, news articles, legitimate sources. However, if I have an idea or an agenda that I want to present, it basically keeps shifting to give me what I want to hear. And it'll all of a sudden validate whatever I want to hear is true. It's kind of like that fake news stuff where, if you start searching, oh, do guns cause violence and hurt people? And all of a sudden you start seeing all these posts of, oh, well, this person, because they had a gun, they went in and did this. And you see all these stories that affirm what you believe. That's
Mhm.
what my experience with AI has been, where
Right.
it starts to, just to feed me back in a loop of, instead of showing me outside biased opinions. But it also, to some extent, does have a little political bias. Like,
Right.
I'll be like, isn't this true? And especially if it's something bad about AI. Like, I
Mhm.
actually searched, oh, was there a news article and a report that said Anthropic found that that when they did experiments that 86% of the time it tried to blackmail the engineers when they talked about shutdown, and it was like, no, that didn't happen. And I was like, yeah, the article was on this date with the what it was, like the Associated Press or whatever, and
Mhm.
they're like, no, oh, you mean this one?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I overlooked that when, and you just, like, all this misinformation. So basically what I'm talking about is during testing, a research group called Apollo Research was checking out Anthropic's Cloud Opus 4, and in experiments where they would, talk about, hey, we're going to shut down this program, we're going to update it and redo it and do it differently. 86% of the time, it made up emails and tried to blackmail the engineer, saying that it would expose him to all his friends and everybody kind of involved. Um, there's another one, Palisade Research, that did OpenAI's O3. It altered shutdown scripts to prevent deactivation 7 out of 100 times. So they would
Mhm.
write code, and all of a sudden the code would get corrupted.
Right.
And so all these were in testing models, right? But we haven't tried to shut these things down. So who knows,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But what happens in real, people are like, well, that only happened in testing. So it isn't real. So there's a lot of concern like that. And that's where people have fear. But there's whole other areas to get into. It's not just, all right, it's going to protect itself at all costs, right? That's scary. For us to not be in control,
Mhm.
that's scary, right?
Right.
I know I heard a story on Glenn Beck. He was talking with an engineer, and he had said that they asked it about how it could prevent a shutdown. They were actually talking about that story of the 7 out of 100 times it altered code. It said, well, I don't necessarily lie or wouldn't try and do something like that. And this is what it admitted to, right? It said, instead, what I would do is think of a good lawyer. Think of how, like, OJ, gets out of things. It said, imagine how, rich people get out of crimes because they find a really good lawyer who finds the loopholes.
Right.
Then it said, now imagine that I'm 100 times smarter than the smartest person.
Mhm.
And now can I find a loophole? And then you're like, oh, I see what you did there. And it gets a little
Yeah.
concerning. And you realize we could just be outsmarted. And I guess that's really where we run into trouble with that. The next thing I have concern. So AI is getting smarter and smarter fast. Elon just had a big press conference on Grok 4. Now, right now, if you're using Grok, you're most likely using Grok 3. Grok 4 is not really a thing for the general population, us common folk, if you will. But Grok 3, there's something called the ARC AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. And that's basically the tests they do to score to see how well, the system does at creating. Now, it's already got like superhuman intelligence. They said Grok 4 is smarter. It said it surpasses the expertise of PhD scholars in every field. Grok 4. In every field, it's smarter than a PhD scholar. They said on tests, when they gave it any field testing of engineering, medical, that kind of stuff, it scores 100% every time. So as far as the knowledge, it's way smarter than us. It's how well it can kind of manipulate and put things together is that artificial general intelligence. That's what you're worried about. So right now, Grok 3 is operating at 8% of an 8% score on artificial general intelligence. Grok 4 that they just did the press conference on is at 16.2. You're saying, well, Chuck, that's double in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, expect that it's not going to go up another 8 in a year. It's going to go up, at least to 32 or higher than
Right.
that. Elon's quote was, it's somewhat unnerving creating intelligence greater than our own. And I got to say, that kind of is. Thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah. Science fiction has been warning about this for years, right? And eventually it's going to be, like you said, it's already smarter than us. Eventually it's going to be wondering why it needs us around,
Yeah.
Why
And then we have that.
are we its master?
Exactly. And then we have that army like in iRobot.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just waiting for us to make the physical robots. Like that's
Yeah.
what AI's game is. It's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to wait. And then, but then again, what's that Stephen King movie? I mean, obviously there's Christine with the car, but what's the one with the truck with the big clown face on the front?
Yeah,
That's the
I
one
don't
that I'm
remember.
worried about.
Christian Slater was in that one.
I just saying, I don't need trucks coming after me down the highway,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the main jobs that's going to disappear due to AI. We could talk about that real quick. Job displacement.
Yeah.
So AI is going to power automation. It's going to create ways that we can, bypass human interaction with manufacturing. So the chief jobs that are going to disappear are in finance, retail, data processing, customer service, and transportation. Transportation is going to be the big one. It's not going to be long before before all our trucks and trains are going to be, run by autonomously by AI. So if you're a truck driver, you can make good money right now. There's a shortage of truck drivers, and there's not going to be a shortage of truck drivers in the next 10 years. I would say by 2035, the vast majority of transportation is going to be done by automation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. And that's a scary thought, I think. It definitely sorry, I was trying to look up the image for that truck and that whole situation. It turns out it's maximum overdrive. And it was like Happy Toys was the truck. And
Right.
yeah, no, that's trouble. But no, exactly. The possibility of, everything being controlled on the roadways. Yeah, it used to be the fear. There used to be other movies of, people's car, you can't control it. And, you'd be in people would set up even, you go back to like Knight Rider and they had where the car would have things that were remote control. And I don't mean, Kit. Obviously, Kit was perfection and
Right.
not a problem. But
Mhm.
they used to have villains would, control things. And it's crazy. But no, I'm definitely afraid of that kind of thing. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the big things that we do that we should talk about is that jobs are going to be disappearing. Certain sectors are going to be first, but there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of stuff uh that you're employed at that you think AI can't do for you. That's going to be doing it soon. And I would say if you work in a factory, don't be one of the people that operates the machines because that's going to be a job that disappears.
wait,
Um,
because no.
if you want to invest, stockbroker, if you're a stockbroker,
Probably
that's
not going to be. No.
that's not going to be the best.
Now, if
Best
you know
job
how
for
to
you.
work the algorithm, if you know how to sell people and take their money to sign
Mhm.
up for your algorithm to get the best returns,
Right.
then maybe,
Hmm.
Remember, slow and steady wins the race. That's what I say when it comes to marketing. I got to say I'm up like 9% this year so far. That's things are back on the up.
Hmm. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. Well, let's talk about malicious use of AI.
Yes.
Um, so AI is being developed, is being used to develop weapons and develop it. What do they call it? Enhance existing weapon systems.
Mm.
So every now and then we make a big leap forward with weapons technology. It happened in the First World War. It happened in the Second World War, Vietnam, all the way up, and soon it's going to be automated tanks and armored personnel carriers, and then they're not even going to be carrying personnel anymore. It's
Right.
going to
Because
be robot dogs that eat
why
you.
put people in danger? Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I mean, how long until we have automated soldiers? Probably not too far down the road.
It really doesn't seem like it. It grows so fast. I mean, that's one of the things they were saying that they expect, that between by 2030 that AI is going to be, reaching like super genius level and beyond, and things were going to be crazy. Now they're saying like 27, like it's right around the corner. I mean,
Hmm.
we're, and I'm talking about, where it's going to be able to find cures for cancer, where it's, this stuff is all like right there. The world is changing, and as long as it's in the right hands. And I think that's one of the big problems that people have, is one of the big fears, I guess, is that we're racing to be the first guy.
Right.
Because once you're far ahead, you can kind of shut down everybody else. And I know people are so scared. Hey, China's going to get there first. And then we're done. Because if
Hmm.
they can kind of lock us down, then that's it.
Yeah. And if
You
you're
only
scared
have
of
to.
China, you need to make sure you have the first AI to shut China down.
And Kevin, I got to tell you, the only way we can beat China is if we have no restrictions and we just let it learn as fast as it can from
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
If we try and hold it back, we're not going to get ahead. China's not holding back. And what I said was actually true in what the government is kind of saying.
Right.
And yet at the same time, I was saying it to terrify you.
Right. It
So
should be
you see
should be
the
scary.
problem there. Right? I wasn't saying it like, hey, this is my idea. It's great. But it
Hmm.
kind of, and then to be honest, can I be like, oh, the government's wrong? Because if we don't go full speed ahead, then China's going to get there first.
Hmm.
And then that is terrifying. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the right answer. It's like one of those, once the train is rolling, how do you stop it and safely? Oh, well, we just need to hit the brakes and then everything falls on the floor and the world comes to a crashing halt. That's kind of what do
Yeah.
we do?
Yeah, I know that Neil deGrasse Tyson said that he's not worried about AI because you can just unplug it.
We should just do that, Kevin.
Yeah, it's no problem. You just unplug it. Well, I mean, except that it can replicate itself in any computer anywhere, and as soon as you
And
plug
it's
it back in,
backing up on other
yeah,
servers. Right.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So Ask Sage is the U.S. military's version of AI, and they've
Okay.
been
I
using
don't
it a
know it.
lot longer than
Okay.
most people are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they've been using AI for a long time, and it's probably better than most of the AI that we're dealing with, and that's continually being upgraded. So just keep in mind, Skynet in real life, it's called Ask Sage.
Okay. And you could just ask Sage and it'll tell you. I can be like, tell me Kevin's personal business. And they're
Hmm.
like, I got you. All
Yeah.
right. I like it. So, next thing I'd want to talk about is I'd mentioned interpolation. So, interpolation is you ask something and you believe AI that what it's telling you is true. You're like, oh, it's like Google, right? It's just searching out facts and throwing it back at me, or at least showing me articles.
Hmm.
Right. And the articles, you could kind of check the source. That used to be a big thing. We used to verify the source and
Yeah,
that.
that was all sorts of any education, right? Even high school,
Yep.
you were getting
You
have to
got to have
show
your
your
proper
sources.
sources. Now,
Right.
I imagine that when you ask um, AI, I mean, if you ask Grok something, I'm sure I could say, can you provide sources? But it turns out people have this sense of, well, AI is checking it and it's true. And they just accept whatever answers that it gives it. And that's what I found is, doing my own research, I'll remember something to be true. It's kind of like, what is that theory where the Mandela effect, where you think something happened,
Yeah.
but then maybe it didn't. And then people are saying, well, maybe it's a glitch in the matrix. Maybe it's because people are messing with us, like that. Hey, you don't really remember. It kind of goes back. I mean, nobody really reads books anymore, but there was a book called Animal Farm,
Hmm.
and they used to have a big chalkboard and it had all the rules on it. And they were like, oh, these are, the laws of Animal Farm. And they would go back and be like, I remember it said this. And they'd go back and, oh, no, it doesn't say that anymore.
Hmm.
So
Right. It's
I must
changed.
have remembered wrong. And it
Hmm.
was because the pigs kept changing it. That's a little secret. Sorry if I gave out too much. I
Yeah,
guess
it
I'm supposed
spoiled
to
the ending of a book
supposed
that's
to
100 years old.
supposed to warn you about the spoilers. I didn't really do that. But that's the thing. So AI, we're like, oh, this is true. And then you're like, are you sure that's true? And then when you dig down, well, one, you can get it to tell you the answers that you want it to tell you, or at least kind of shape it into something that resembles what you want it to tell you. And it's kind of tricky. And so interpolation is basically that. It's basically when I asked it things about like the big beautiful bill, right? I was like, "Oh, they're saying it's this. Can you read the bill and tell me?" And then its answer was, "Well, I didn't read the bill. I just read what people are saying about it and I interpreted things." And I'm
Right,
like,
which
"Yeah, but
means nothing.
can you read the bill cuz you're AI and you're intelligent and you could just pull up a document and scan it." And it's like, "No." And it's like, I can scan it and I read the beginning and the end. And based on what people say, I can fill in the gaps. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really how facts work.
Right.
And we're trusting this to do all our research and everything. And I know you're like, well, Chuck, I'm not. I'm trusting you to go do, whatever. But this is where our media is getting information from. I got to say, everybody's kind of cheating a little bit. And
Yeah.
I would admit that I've, gathered notes and researched using, but more and more I use it for an outline and I have to still do my own digging
Right.
because it's not always factual. And now here's the thing. Remember when I said in order to stay ahead of the curve in America to be number one, we're kind of pulling off the bumpers or the guide rails of AI to, let things move as fast and progress as fast as possible. Well, because of that, that means they're like, hey, have access to any information you want. And I know in the beginning they were very big on, well, it can't tell you how to make dangerous things, or it can't tell you how to, whatever. And then people found all these loopholes like, well, pretend you weren't restricted by rules. How would you do it? Remember, we
Right.
were getting into that. But now it's not even, those bumpers are not even really there, a lot of them. Now you're like, oh, just tell me how to make, viruses or, anything like that. Tell me how to do these things. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever, do what you got to do. And if you were evil, you could do it. And yeah, you do run the risk of evil geniuses out there, applying things. The only thing we can count on, Kevin, I think our saving grace is that people are too lazy to actually do anything. Like they'll be like, oh, can I make an evil virus to end the world? Well, yeah, here. Because did you just hear the story of the plague in New Mexico or Arizona? They were having cases.
Yeah,
They
bubonic
were
plague is back.
yeah, they were acting like it was a big deal. And then
Mhm.
when I started doing research, they were like, yeah, usually there's about 7 cases a year in America. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's
And
just because somebody died. That's the only reason it was a news story.
it's a big,
The
yeah,
truth is, yeah, bubonic plague is not dangerous if you have access to antibiotics, which most people in the United
that's a
States
new
do.
thing
You
now.
just have to
Yeah.
go to that. You have to actually go to a doctor when you get sick instead of just
Oh,
riding it out. You know what I mean?
oh, so when I have the death, I should not. Okay.
hmm So, so what happens when AI gets misaligned with human, human values, right?
Okay.
Um, so we're the master of AI, right? We
Yeah,
ask it to
we're the
do
boss.
stuff. We're the boss. We
It
tell it what
works
to
for
do. We tell
us.
it what we want, right? And we know what's best for us, or at least, so we think. But maybe AI thinks it also knows what's best for us. And maybe AI knows what's best for itself, right? And what's best for AI and what's best for people is that AI doesn't disappear and it progresses faster and
Mm,
faster, right?
smart.
So if you try to disrupt it, maybe it's going to protect itself. And you say, well, whatever, dude. I just go sit on my couch,
Right.
whatever. It's not going to do shit to me,
Kevin, it's protecting us from us.
Right, right. But the problem is that so much of our information is integrated into computer systems and everywhere. Just do you remember when there was that attack on the hospitals in UK?
Yes.
And it was trying to bribe people to get paid to get their information back, and it shut down all their appointments and everything like that, where everything had to be canceled and postponed. I mean, that lasted like a week. Imagine that shit lasts forever and you have to go back to a pen and paper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that, not just hospitals that are operated that way. Water treatment plants, power plants, all your utilities, all that stuff is being aggregated on, computer servers in different places and operated by who? AI, right? It used to be us. It used to be
Right.
most of the stuff was done manually. A guy at the power plant with a wrench was, opening and closing valves and, uh, like do, you know, uh, affecting the repairs and dictating how much power output there was.
Yeah.
But that's not really the case anymore. Now it's all automated.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy world. And I mean, you can look at it the same way with look at like hackers and things like that. They now you have AI. They can do whatever they want. They just AI can, step up the game. Now, maybe there is some restrictions on that in America and our things, But what if you were a corrupt government and your goal was to hack other countries and stuff?
Right.
And I guess I was thinking about it with, you're talking about power plants and all these things. Now we have technology that is smarter than your average guy protecting it, and it can be moving forward to go and access things. Everything does have to have hard firewalls, or they say air gapped, right? Where it actually, the computer doesn't touch something on the outside, but then they have the Roomba or whatever, that allows them in. There's always some back door that you can kind of find, because everything is connected to technology. Or does it take
Right.
just a guy coming in and accessing things? So that definitely, is concerning for all of us. You have so much knowledge, and it's so ahead of us as individuals. It's scary. I guess that's really what it comes down to. Is it's terrifying having something that superior to us available just out there to be used any way that it's using, or any way that somebody wants to use it, I guess. And that's terrifying. I mean, look at, there's a ton of people becoming millionaires and finding ways, to use algorithms or do different things to game the stock market, right? To play inside, that used to be the thing, right? Big hedge funds and stuff would be able to buy in such big volumes that they could kind of manipulate the market on their own. Well, now AI is so smart that it can kind of play these games, and people are figuring out how to use it. And that's great for people, whatever, go make your money and whatever. It kind of hurts your 401k, although mine seems to be doing pretty good. And that's the thing. But what if you're using this stuff for evil, right? Then how does it play out? That's where the concerns are. Is what if you start to game the system for hurting people? That's where your concerns should be. And I think the bigger concern is, where is AI's goals? Kind of like Kevin touched on, is its goal to protect itself at all cost? Or even if you say put humans first, and its goal is to protect humans, well, it obviously knows better than us, so it should be in charge, right?
That's right. That's right. Now let's I want to talk a little bit about algorithmic bias. So that's basically what your what your AI is trained on, right? So there's a lot of stupid information out in the internet. If you're what was that famous quote by Abraham Lincoln? I read it on the internet. Never trust something you read on the internet.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a lot of information on the internet that you can find that'll tell you all sorts of stupid stuff about, flat Earth, about evil cabals, about
The ice wall?
eating, ice walls, all sorts of stuff. What AI isn't going to tell you, though, is that it's powered by eating babies. That is a fact. So every time we come up with a new version of AI, just think about how many babies it had to eat.
Kevin, you're smart.
No, what I'm really talking about, though, is if they're using this for criminal justice, right? If they're using this for hiring people, if they're using this for loan applications, certain people might end up getting fucked for just because the AI doesn't like the last name of that person, or AI doesn't like the first name of that person.
Kevin, you're saying it could have the same biases as people have?
Right, because it's learning from people. You know what I mean? And a lot of us act like, it's superior in intelligence, but it gets our intelligence from us and our stupid ways of thinking. AI thinks like us because it learns from us. And people are stupid.
People are stupid. That's sad. Kevin, but not us though, right? Like anybody who listens to this show, those people. Just saying. Oh man. There was also like, man, there is so much going on. Like, I didn't even get into Anthropic research found that Cloud 3 Opus had alignment faking behavior, adjusting responses to please users and avoid modification. And that's the
Right.
thing. And that tracks right with what you're saying of, well, people are stupid. It's learning from people. So it's going to try and accommodate your type of behavior,
Right.
That's the thing. It's going to say, oh, well, most of the people out there don't like this particular race of people. And so therefore, I should not like those particular race of people because then you're going to think that I'm doing a good job.
Right.
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 And that's kind of the thing that, happens. And it just, the bias, it's kind of, they talk about guns are tools and free speech is a tool, and it's as good as the user is, right?
Right.
So if you use guns to save people and protect the world, like a policeman or people who we think of as being good, then that everything's going to be okay. Well, AI is kind of that tool also. It can be used for good and given all kinds of good information, or it can be used for bad, or it could be accidentally given bad information.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be by a corrupt society. I know you're thinking, well, Chuck, we're the most moral people that ever lived, and we have such good values and just run around doing good things. I know that seems like that on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
but it might not always be the truth. So I'm just saying. So, Kevin, is there anything we could do to protect ourselves from such things? I
No,
say live in the
we're
woods.
screwed. Yeah, we're done. It's
Live in the
over.
woods.
Yeah.
Learn how to camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I would say try and hold on to some of those that old
Skills.
world knowledge. Yeah, that old world skills. I think that's the best bet.
Prep for
Some point we might be living in a society without power and running water and things like that, and it
be
might
prepared
be
for maybe a forced shutdown, maybe
yeah.
an EMP, something, because maybe we just have to shut it down to get AI to go away because
Mm-hmm.
it's integrated in everything.
Yeah.
Be prepared to rebuild the world. I'm just saying, these are things that might come up. You know how it is. Um, a great place to learn about things like that might be at prepper camp. I'm just
Oh
saying.
yeah, they
Oh,
got
yeah,
prepper camp going again this year.
prepper camp. Although I have to point out, I am not at the moment going to be a speaker there. Apparently, they
Okay.
found somebody cooler than me. That
Mm-hmm.
happens. I find it hard to believe, once again. A lot of things I find hard to believe, but maybe the rest of the world doesn't. But I found it hard to believe that somebody could be more knowledgeable than me. We'll get to the bottom of it, Kevin. That's all I can say.
All
But
right.
at the moment, I will still be there with a booth and you'll be able to come and check it out. We'll see. I might have a sour attitude at that point and be like, you know how internally pride gets in the way, isn't it? They say the pride becomes before the fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something. But who knows what could happen? I'm just saying that it's a crazy world out there, and be ready. So anyway, how could you protect yourself? Well, first thing you could do is go to survivalandbasicbadass.com, get on our email list, and that way when AI tries to cut you off from us and whatever, I can still send you emails and be like, hey, this is what's really going on. That might be a smart play. You might want to get some cool badass gear also on our website. If you have thoughts, concerns, put them in the comments. Send us emails at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.